Come one, come all. It's time to grow. Welcome to the Dorian Adams Motivation Show. On this channel, we focus on faith, family, friends, finance, and fitness. So not in that particular order, but we talk about a lot of other things as well. On tonight's call, we're fortunate to have a pretty decent crowd of people so far. And we've come up with the topic, we're going to talk about the topic of anger. Anger and how we deal with anger. But before we go any further, I want to make sure I do, as customary, invite the Creator, the Father, God, however you express that being in your life. I want to invite that entity into the conversation and just pray that He guides my words, our words, and allow us to share things that's going to be to other people and just be sponge and absorb and try to walk away with something that's valuable as well. So without further ado, anger. We was talking a little bit earlier in the pregame show, and Brother Zach was speaking about getting consistent and not letting stuff drag him down. But it sounds like you encountered a little bit of anger in that process of kind of figuring it out and getting settled with whatever you had going on.
Oh, we can
tell us
talk
about
about
that?
As long as I don't tag and just say the name, I can talk about whatever I want to, man.
Come on with it.
All right, so I'm in the middle of a nasty, brutal divorce. Some weird stuff. I call it the Twilight Zone. Every week it seems it's a new episode of the Twilight Zone. So last week, she killed our dog. And I really wanted to get angry. There's a lot behind it. Cliff notes are, she moved to California and I'm here, and she wouldn't tell anybody where the dog was at. And she put him up in the hotel, and then I got to notice that he was going to be turned over and be killed. And lo and behold, he was. I was pretty pissed off.
I'm with you.
But what are you going to do? You're going to be pissed off and break shit and raise hell? What good is that going to do? I ain't going to do no good. Suffer the loss and grieve like any normal human being. I mean, anybody's going to. Anger is a human emotion for something you don't like. It's constant. It's quick. Boom. Right there. But being able to control the anger is another thing. And I did. I was pissed. I even called my buddy because I went out on the town and I went looking for the raunchiest, nastiest bar that I could find because I wanted to get in a fight. Brawl. And he talked me out of it. He's like, just go home, man. And I did. I went home. Anger is a special emotion. You can have anger with anything in your life. It could be the simplest thing or the biggest thing. But the point of the matter is, can you learn to control that anger? And if you can learn to control that, well, in my opinion, I think that's power. But I did. I controlled it. I went home. Had a little talk with somebody upstairs, and all right. Life goes on.
So let me push it a little bit further.
Sure.
The topic is anger, and you went there in a way that, as an adult, I kind of can understand. But can you break it down to us like we're all 5-year-olds, and you need us to understand why you didn't feel you didn't feel okay with giving yourself permission to go ahead with that anger. Why
Yeah,
not?
it was a catch-22 because I gave myself permission. I was halfway there, but then my conscience kicked in, and I called a friend. I was like, "Dude, this is what I'm getting ready to do," and it's like, "You need to go home, man."
Because
You're
yeah,
gonna
so you mentioned the brawl. What was going to be the end result of that? What was
I
that
just
going to get done?
somebody to hit me so that I could release anger.
Right.
I was so I was so mad. I was so angry.
But I'm looking for something though.
What you looking for?
I'm looking for something. Anybody know what I'm looking for? Action, reaction.
Well, action to reaction is my reaction was the calm before the storm. It was calmness instead of anger. It was the opposite reaction of anger. It was love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The drive home was just, he was a good dog. He was loved. I loved him, and what's done is done.
Man.
And then I wasn't angry anymore.
Well,
And I don't have any animosity towards her. I'm not angry with her for what she did, but kind of actually, forgive her.
Yeah. Nah, you better than me, bro. I mean, I probably would have exercised the same kind of steps, but I know because I know your family. You know what I mean? I know a little bit
Yeah,
more,
we come from the same place.
and it's like that's hard to fathom. I know it's an even harder pill to swallow. You get what I'm saying? And so, some things you can't make up, and it's like I can only try to imagine how I would have moved in that situation because that's next level. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Next level hurt, next level, all the rest of the stuff that comes with that package that adds up to being anger, right?
right.
All of
And
the
you
stuff
know
that
what's
came with the
going on.
package
I mean,
is
you
what,
can't make
right?
this shit up.
So what I'm saying is like, yeah, bro, like I gotta tip my hat to you on that one because you know it's hard, bro. It's hard to imagine that that's something that could come across your plate and you expect it to behave in a mature way. You
But
get
it
what I'm
doesn't always
saying?
happen that way.
It don't, but that's why we having this call, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect you to say that. I didn't know, we never know what's gonna happen on these calls. But let's get some more feedback from around the group, uh, and see what people's
Well, just
thoughts are
one
on anger.
more added since we're joining on. One more quote is when these things come up, no matter what they are, how small or how big, and we can't control them, we have to understand that we can't control them. We don't have to like it, but we do have to accept the outcome because that's just what happens. Now, if we can accept the outcome, we can accept it and what it is, well, then you can move forward.
Yeah.
All
Somebody
right.
has some.
Well, I say this: I'm glad you were able to make it through this situation and without doing anything that you regret. It's definitely not easy.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got
for
lots of
sure.
phone calls the next morning. Like, did you do
Mhm.
something you regret? I said, no, I went home.
The wiser road.
You got to take the higher path.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Anything
no,
that's too easy, man, is too easy. You gonna fuck it up. If it's hard, then that's growth.
yeah, and at some point we get tired of making the poor decisions that that lead to outcome. We get tired of letting our emotions get the best of us. I think especially as men, when we allow our emotions to determine our behavior,
Yeah.
it rarely ever results in anything good. Whether that's
Ever
good,
does.
good emotions or bad emotions, it normally doesn't work out in the best way. So I give you props to that for sure. We all go through loss in different ways, and it's always something to try and figure out how to interpret it. So yeah, I think it's interesting on the emotion anger specifically. I mean, I guess we can start by trying to describe exactly what it is. I mean, anger can be caused by several different situations. I think one of them is having your expectations fail.
Mm-hmm.
So the gap between your expectations and reality, that can cause anger. It could also cause sadness or disappointment. What would be another way of describing anger? I think,
It's all the negative emotions that you have.
yeah, it's sort of like sadness and frustration all combined because anger is one of those emotions it has a little more power behind it. I feel like it can be used instrumentally because anger can force you to do things that you regret and go and act in various ways, or you could also use it and wield it as a
Mm-hmm.
motivator to push you in a direction. Let's say, for instance, to make sure that you never do something again. Let's say you made a poor
Mm-hmm.
decision and then you're angry about it. Well,
Right.
that motivation to learn something new or sort of to bolster you into a different state of mind. But that takes a little more conscious effort as opposed to just acting off the
Right.
pure self. So it's it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. A lot of time that anger kicks in when something causes you pain,
Hmm.
you know, and so it's multifaceted when you really break it down. You know what I
Fight or flight.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
fight or
can
flight.
get that. You can get the fight or flight, and it's like, you know, the pain. I want to avoid this pain, and it's coming at me. How do I avoid it? Like I've been known to experience anger because of a lack of control, and like you said, as a motivator, self control. You know, and that motivates me when I feel like I don't have no self control. Like Zach was just talking about his eating habits and his discipline for his meal plans. He's exercising the self control that I've actually been made myself mad about when I couldn't control my eating. You know what I mean? And that because I wanted a result for bodybuilding, I had to do what I had to do to get better with that. You know, so I use that anger to motivate me into doing what I need to do. You know, so that was a real good point, John.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, that definitely is a key aspect of it is pain. I think to add on to that, the ability to, and I think if you look at children and even infants, they cry because they can't articulate themselves. It's an emotion. They're expressing some fundamental emotion that they can't articulate. And I think even as adults, sometimes that's is replicated. I think if you don't know how to articulate yourself and explain yourself sufficiently so that others can understand what it is you're trying to tell them, um, emotions tend to manifest themselves as a replacement because it's more foundational. It's more primal, so to speak, to just allow our emotions to express ourselves. They're more explosive. So people tend to understand someone if their emotions are lashing out. You won't really understand exactly what it is, but you'll get an idea, and you see
Mm-hmm.
that are more mature or wise or however you want to describe it. They tend to know how to explain themselves very well and sufficiently so that others understand what they're trying to say, and they don't need as much emotion to come out. I think I think it's actually necessary that we do express our emotions. I guess I'm just saying that.
In a calm manner.
Yeah, in a calm manner.
Yeah.
It's respected more too. Like we respect each other more when we see someone that can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, good stuff. So I mean,
I'm just munching on a sandwich.
Right on, Zach. If I can be honest, man, I think anger was a good one for me because I've gotten better over the years with managing my anger better, understanding it, because it used to manifest however it manifests, and that literally was led to some bad places, bad situations, made some bad situations worse. Just to keep it in a nutshell. But I found that to not be, first of all, acceptable, and at the same time, I found it to be um, kind of beneath me in a way, because it was like, how can you? For me, my thing was, how can you say that you're this person or that person? Like how I see myself, how I think I portray myself. How can I be this person if I'm constantly making dumbass decisions, right? Because it ain't dumb when I do it. I'm fired up, I'm mad, or whatever it is, and I go off in that direction. But then when the receipt come, right, when I'm sitting somewhere I don't want to be, and I'm mad, and I'm away from family and friends, then I think about it as a dumbass decision. But in the moment, I was so bent on doing what I had, whatever it was, that's all that mattered, right? And so what happened over time is I got to the point where I was like, man, you're doing more damage because of your anger and your impulsive decision making, than you know. You're affecting family, you're affecting friends, you're affecting your livelihood. It's a whole lot that's suffering when you decide to exercise these type of decisions because you're mad, right? And so I just had to make a conscious decision to accept the pain of I guess I can call it the pain of not playing into immediate gratification, not having to be immediately gratified, not having to instantly be satisfied, want everything overnight, quick fix. That's just my story. I had to step away from that. I had to find a way to put that in my back pocket and at least uh, observe a more measured and calculated approach to stuff that was still gonna get me in the direction I was trying to go, whether I was getting there instantly or not, because it was gonna keep me away from it and out of those bad places and situations. So yeah, anger that's a real one that I definitely got to keep under control, and it hasn't went away. It's not something that I just don't have to worry about no more. I always got to worry about it because one mistake, one foul decision can cost you dearly. And that's something I run it in the ground on myself every day.
It changed your life forever.
Facts.
When that night, when my buddy told me to go home, I wrote down 2 quotes from Gandhi, and I have them up on my wall. And it's kind of yin and yang, but one is no violence is the greatest force disposal of a man mightier than his best weapon. But the other one is, it is better to be violent if violence is in your heart than to put on a cloak of no violence to cover oneself.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Something to think about.
All right.
That's interesting. It's almost as if on the second one he's saying not to mask who you really are and to be yourself, not to sacrifice your own authenticity for others, which is weird, especially in regards to violence. But on the first one, he's saying to basically not do that. I don't know. I definitely have to read them again. I don't want to misunderstand.
Yeah, check them out.
It was more than
It's definitely food for thought, man. It's,
yeah.
Yeah.
you know, it always goes back to me, as far as the yin and yang, the good, the evil, the black, the white, the equality between the two. Can't have one without the other. But anger's something else.
Hey, cut out. I was just gonna put him on blast. Josh, what you got, man? How do you deal with anger?
Well, I'm a little different. I lived fight or flight like most of my life. Bad parents and whatnot, and shit just set me off. And a lot of it, I think, is ego, and anger is a choice. So, and I think most of the time, whether somebody wrongs you or not, or somebody makes you mad, but it's still your choice, right? And to let that person's whatever they did, their emotions affect you. So it has to do with my insecurities of myself. If you're okay with
Mm,
yourself, then what's it matter if some dude does this or someone does this to make you mad? It's their own deal. It has nothing to do with you, right? So
mm,
once you let that go, and then what I had to do, um, I got a lot big story, but for my parents, right? They're still married. They're good. We're
mm,
good now, but um, what I had to do to get past my anger towards them is kind of look at it as they were doing the best they could do at the time, right? Whether it was shitty, good, that was the tools they had to work with, right? So not necessarily good. It made me pissed off, but what I have learned trying to do more is if you see somebody, it's hard because especially if they're wronging you, everybody's got a story and everybody's story is different, right? And you don't know anybody's story, right? You don't know what happened to them when they were 5 years old because that has something to do with them right now, right?
mhm,
So, um, Zach, I don't know your ex or your wife's story, and I'm not saying what she did wasn't bad, but she's acting the best she can do with the tools she has at the time, right? So, not good, but if you look at
mm,
it
Not
at
good.
in that perspective,
That's kind
uh,
of like, well,
it's so
he's down in a different state. He's been in a hotel. I can't go get him because of my position.
right. So I mean,
It's a catch 22.
for sure.
No.
Um, if you look at it in that aspect, when somebody does wrong you, it's just like it's their own deal, has nothing to do with you. So if
Right.
somebody does piss me off, random person, it's like it has nothing to do with me. It's all you. So to even
Exactly.
let that affect you, why? Because I don't want to be there. I don't want to live in that fight or flight mode. I
Right.
don't
mhm,
care what the hell that person thinks about me at this current stage. It has nothing to do with me. So,
mm,
No,
really,
you're correct. You're correct.
anger is a
100.
choice.
100.
So, and
Yeah.
then in any situation, good, bad, or otherwise, what'd you learn from it?
mhm.
Always learning.
You
So
can't control somebody
I,
else's actions.
yeah, anger sucks, but I don't want to live in that fight or flight because I live there a lot, and it's not healthy.
No. No.
Hey,
No, I'm
So
with you.
if
are
I
you
can
finished?
learn to breathe through it and just be conscious in my own and really control my ego and me, there's not much that's going to make me angry.
Exactly.
You
Yeah, it took
know,
Yeah,
a while to figure that
yeah.
one out too.
because there's going to
Yeah.
be
You're right
There's
on
going to
point.
be things and situations and people that piss you off, but but it is still a choice to let it affect you.
Mhm.
That's true.
Yeah, I like that one because when you were talking, Josh, you made me think about something that's been going around a little bit lately. What I've been talking about is the fact that it's never the person. It's never the person. It's always the situation.
Mhm.
And when I
Mhm.
say that, I say it's never. It's the you can act like it's the person that made you mad, but it ain't. It's the situation. And
Situation.
what I come to realize is that I have to ask myself now that the situation is happening. I don't care about this person, but now that the situation is happening, what did I do to get myself in this situation, and what can I do to get myself out?
Right.
Because the only other thing that's going to end up happening is I'm going to match this person's energy because I'm now angry. I'm
But
mad now. You
that's
see what I'm
still a
saying?
choice.
It is a
You're not
choice,
going to
but
match it.
that's
You're
the
going to
thing.
try to overpower their energy with it.
Exactly. But that's what I'm
Or,
saying. I'm a match. I'm gonna get up in there. But the thing
yeah,
of it is, what I drill down on with myself is how do I avoid these type of situations? Because now the whole thing is I'm looking at percentages now. What's the percentage of me coming in contact with this situation if I'm not in this environment around this group of people? Like
Yeah, the
it's a couple of
environment.
different
Yeah,
factors, right? That will lower that percentage of me even being exposed to that type of situation. That's how much I care about myself. Now, I'm not even going to try to be around that. But if I come to the point where I have to be there, right? Then I got to make a decision on the moment, in the moment,
yeah,
right? And it comes down essentially to if I'm just going to clap back and have as much of a loud voice as the next person or something like that, or if I'm just going to say, you know what, I'm good, you win, and
but you don't even got to
l-
look at it
l-
like win or loss. It's
look,
you're
oh
the
yeah,
look,
winner.
look,
totally.
I mean,
It's,
you treat the
minus
situation with love and compassion. If someone's
right, yeah,
being
yeah,
an ass
yeah,
to you and you treat them with
mm-hmm.
compassion, it's going
Kill
to
them
be
with
kind of
kindness.
hard to continue. They're going to be coming at you, right? So you
No,
won,
that's where I was coming. That's where I was going.
right?
Less this person wielding a weapon or actually making a physical threat towards
Yeah,
me, I still got the choice to walk away or make a mature decision.
right.
Until the last minute, I should be able to extend grace to this person, whether it's killing me or not on the inside.
yep.
You know what I mean? So that's that. I just wanted to throw that in there about this. So it's
I think
always a
it's
situation.
as we get older, depending on where you come from. I mean, everybody comes
For
from somewhere.
sure. And growth.
So, growth and stuff like that. D and we come from kind of the same path. Uh, I think as we've gotten older, I see a lot of similarities where it's just you just walk away. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I've had in the past couple months that I've been down here in Portland, I have had about two really good issues. Two times that really would have turned into something. But it was like, no, I'm walking. I'm walking. Because you never know what somebody has or what's going on with them or their life.
And that's it. Yeah.
And I looked at them and I was like, dude, I'll put you down in 2 seconds. But could have had a gun, could have had a knife. But I just walked away. It's just walk away. It ain't worth it, man. It ain't
Yeah.
worth it. It ain't worth it's just not worth anything anymore.
Well,
I'd
like I
rather
said, you don't
go
know
home and
people's
have a beer
story
and yeah.
or what they're going through at the time, you know?
Yeah. I mean everybody
So
comes from
like
a place,
for
man.
instance, so if you would have went to that bar, right? Got in a fight with some random dude or whoever,
Oh, it wasn't gonna be
what were
one.
you going through at the
I was
time?
looking
That was
to
your
go for a
story.
crowd.
You were looking for a fight, right? So
Yeah. I was looking for more.
if you put yourself on the receiving end of that as the person that you're
Exactly.
challenging,
Yeah.
then
Who is this dude
me,
coming
I'm
in
going to
here?
look at you and say like, well, you're obviously going through some shit right now, Bao. So
And it would not
has nothing to do with me. I'm going to be the bigger person here, and I'm going to walk away from you because you're having some issues right now, right? So,
right.
and I don't know your story. I didn't know all that shit that happened to you prior to. You had a right to wanting to get in a fight, right? But without, as a random person, you don't know people's story. That's
Exactly.
until you really know people and their story. Yeah, you can't. You need to judge, no judgment.
Yeah, and that's what my buddy Zane was saying on the phone when I called him. He was like, "Dude, you're gonna walk in there, you're gonna scare the shit out of everybody. Ain't nobody gonna fight." Anyway, this crazy motherfucker walking in here trying to pick a fight. You're just gonna get kicked out of the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. It's just yeah, anger is something else. But learning to control is everything.
Yeah, that's for
and
sure.
it's all situational. And you said a key thing too, Josh. You don't know what the next person got, whatever it is, and it's like, once again, it's situational. You making a decision you giving yourself permission to open the Pandora's box of what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Because you don't
Yeah.
have no control once you make that action. The next person can, and I was literally having this conversation yesterday about a friend of mine's family members wanted to get in some stuff. And the stuff that they was trying to get into, they was pushing on this other person. And that person brought something to the fight that they wasn't ready for. And now they want everybody to come jump in and all that. It was like, dude, how many times did this person try to walk away from you?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So it's a funky little balance that takes place. Because and in that case, they was calling themselves being mad, and the person was trying to break it down like, nah, dude, I didn't mean that or whatever. And then their anger ended up getting turned on his head because dude came with some real heat. And so,
well, that goes back to what you were saying earlier, the consequences of anger.
Yeah. And it ain't, you don't always
That
have
one
control,
moment changes the rest of your life. You don't know what
Right.
that person.
And you giving yourself permission to get off on this, because I'm mad, but you ain't thinking no farther than your nose.
No, you just being selfish. Yeah.
But here,
selfish in your own emotions.
I got Tasha's on the call.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I know she was sharing some stuff about a situation with a coworker.
Oh. Yeah. Hi everybody, I'm Tasha. I was just trying to think of like times where I have like gotten angry. A lot of the times when I get angry, I feel like my anger gets shut down. I'm thinking back to like my childhood with my father, with my past relationships. Anytime that I would express any kind of disappointment, any kind of anger, that always got shut down and they'd turn around and get mad at me. So I'm sitting here like, I don't know, it just kind of ends there after that. But there was a time that I was angry with my father because, my parents split up and he's with his new girl, and he gave me a whole box of our childhood photos. Like he couldn't keep it at his house because he's got a new girl, whatever. But he gave me all of our memories basically, and that upset me so much that I got rid of the photos too. I was like, I don't want it either. And now I'm sitting here like that was that moment of anger. With the coworker, actually recently, I felt like I bottled everything up, the little stuff for a while now, and I exploded. I mean, respectfully, of course, I let her know how she's upsetting everybody as far as members, employees, and how she just upset me as well. And, not having her support as my partner. But same thing, she turned around and kind of put it on me. So it's like, I don't know how I end up in situations like this, but yeah.
Yeah. But that's why I like having the calls that we have, because you get to hear the wide range of responses and triggers for other
Mhm.
people's anger. When you say anger, like my initial thought when I said anger and dealing with anger was about how I would do something that would literally get me locked up or literally have me draw blood from somebody else. Like that's um, in my mind, that's not super extreme, but I understand it to be extreme because that's not normal. But
Mm-hmm.
that's my past. That's what I'm accustomed to. That's what I know from my experiences. But when I open up dialogue and we talk about this with different people, different backgrounds, I hear some stuff that I'm sitting there like, this is what this person called being angry,
Right.
right? And it's kind of mind blowing, but it helps me to understand. That's what these calls is all about. Bridging gaps, bridging those gaps so that we can understand our fellow person and perhaps have some empathy and compassion for them. That's just like we was talking about a minute ago. You don't know what those guys at the bar could have been going through, but you coming in there on your high horse and picking a fight, and that's all you was worried about was how you was feeling, your pain.
Right.
And you ain't taking no consideration who you was coming in contact with, what their background was, whatever. And there you have a powder keg, you know. So we want to live, we want to strive, survive, and flourish.
Oh,
And we have to drill down on these things that affect our lives, especially making decisions and being angry and can't tolerate the person standing next to me. But at the same time, I'm gonna need somebody to cash my check when I go in the bank. I'm gonna tolerate them, but I'm gonna be selective about tolerating you because you're standing right next to me. Like, let's be real, right? Um, so yeah,
oh, we got to realize the things that make
fire.
us happy.
Well, we gotta think happy thoughts.
Happy
Count
thoughts.
cheeseburgers. We gotta count
Usa,
cheeseburgers.
usa. I get a
Right?
Well, I
pizza
can say
Friday.
Man.
I wanna say this to add on to or to give some context to what you just said, Tasha. So I feel like anger can also be a result of built up frustration. I think sometimes people bother us or situations or manifest themselves and we want to address them in the moment. We'll slowly allow them to accumulate and gradually become what is the elephant under the rug. And it'll become
Mm-hmm.
bigger than it needed to be. And subsequently results in us lashing out and blowing up. And, whoever the person on the opposition, on the opposing side will just be confused. Like what did I do? What is this? And when in reality, it's just all of these previous situations that you failed to address and communicate, and it builds up over time. That's why I think that it's important that we address people, situations, and things that bother us in the moment when they present themselves, which also requires us to have the ability to communicate. And it's interesting because most of us were never really taught how to communicate. We look at our parents, we learn most of what we learn about communication from by example. It's not from words, it's from watching, the people that raised you and the way that they did it. So if you were never given the psychological tools, if you were never equipped with the tools of communication, you never really know how to do it. You don't just get it over time. I mean, some people do, I guess, from cultivating relationships as you grow, but most of us aren't that lucky. So we have
That's
to address situations, and this is from experience because, well, some of it's from just knowledge that I've learned over time from books, but it's primarily from experience. I let my older brother live with me in this apartment I'm in right now for quite some time, and he would do certain things that I didn't like.
mm,
It's a bunch of simple stuff, right? Or at least it seemed like it. And I addressed it to a certain degree, but he just wasn't quite getting it. So this is like a 2 year span. Over time, I slowly watched myself become more
mm,
resentful and frustrated. And it went from his behavior to me just saying, I don't like him. From not liking him to look, he's pathetic. I hate
Yeah.
him. And this is my own brother, keep in mind. So it's kind of crazy.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
after a certain time, I was look at what you're doing. You didn't
Mm.
address these things for so long, and you're just expecting that he's just supposed to know these things. So I sat him down intentionally. Hey, I need to talk to you. Laid it all out like an adult. And I felt better about it, but it still didn't work. It turns out he is kind of a piece of shit, but at least I actually intentionally sat him down because I ended up doing it a couple of times, and now he's not here anymore. And it's all grace. It's gracious, but I told him he had to go. But I feel so much better that I know that I am capable, it turns out, of addressing situations, contentious situations when they happen without being super crazy and angry. It is possible to deal with people on this level. It simply just comes down to communication, literally. The ability to look someone in the eyes and say what you think with a little bit of empathy underneath it. Just a little bit. But
That's
it's still true. So
that's what I realized is like going through each situation with certain people, it's they're a teacher. They're teaching us something.
Mm.
Because we're getting ready for this next part of life, right? Whatever's coming, we're being prepared for that. And so these last 2 weeks have been very testing for me. My general manager's been out of the country, getting married, of course. So I definitely felt tested these last 2 weeks with different situations. But like for that one particular situation with my colleague, um, she's a teacher. She's teaching me something in this moment, and I'm learning how to prepare myself basically for what's next.
Mhm.
Well, I got to give you props, Tasha, on that one. I mean, that
Thank
was,
you.
you hit the nail on the head right there. It's a teachable experience. I didn't think about
Mhm.
it. You said it.
Yeah, no, that was a really, really good point.
Yeah.
When you said that, because I found myself once again when I start trying to wrap my mind around how can I, if I'm in this situation that I can't avoid and I don't have no control over it, what do I now do? Like, what's my actual movement instead of me saying I ain't gonna do nothing, I'm just gonna avoid it, right?
Mm.
That's
Mhm.
kind of questioning. Yeah, that's a big question mark. But when I actually put some specifics to how I'm gonna move in that equation, I grow myself.
Mm.
I grow
Right.
because I already know this is a situation I would have typically met head on, and it wouldn't have been about learning nothing or discovering. It would have been about conquering this person, right? But now it's more or less, I'm looking at, man, you know what? For me to think differently, that's change and that's growth right there. But when I exercise those thoughts and they work, what do you mean you didn't grow?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Knowing that this situation, you can call it clear as day. That's a situation that would have pissed me off, or it actually pisses me off, but I know how to move now. I got more tools. I just added a tool to my toolkit, and I'm gonna use it, and it works, right? But like they say, a tool that's not being used is useless. So when we cultivate these tools and make sure we have access to them, we just become a lot more better. We just grow and be more mature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I heard all of that in what you said because you said that you hit it on the head. I just over talked it. Growth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm growing in this moment, right?
Right.
And that's fire. That's what we all about.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Absolutely.
All right.
That takes me back to like what John was saying about the communication part. I feel like for me, um, communication is definitely not my strongest.
Mhm.
And so being in this position with everybody at work, I'm learning. Confrontation is also something I avoid often. How the host leaves.
oh
um,
wow.
I know. Uh, I lost my trail of thought.
That's right. Hey, Tosh, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, what's up?
So, what do you do?
I work at the gym. I'm an assistant manager at one of the gyms that Dorian used to work over here as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm an assistant manager, and our gym now has two assistant managers. And so that's my partner, the assistant manager.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Sounds like a rivalry there.
Honestly, not so
Right,
much. Just because,
exactly.
like,
That's what my thoughts were.
she's been with the company for years. And I'm hearing stories of Dorian and her having past issues as well. So I know it's not just with me. I know it's something that's happening with everybody all around. And I have tried to communicate with her, like, one-on-one, let her know, like, hey, the employees have brought this to my attention. Like, maybe you can try to get to know them maybe before you go in and start, like, delegating tasks. Try to, break the ice a little. Hey, how was your weekend? What have you? But she's just not so,
Set in her place.
I don't know. Yeah, she goes in and she's just like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. Well, why did you do that? And she'll call them out on the spot in front of everybody, and that makes the employees feel some kind of way. And so yeah, it's a little different, a little testing.
Sure. You can find ways around that.
Everyone's not good at managing and holding every position. I mean, one of the main things when it comes to people working in any type of organized group is people want to be heard. I mean, I'm sure we can all think of an instance of being around other people and not feeling heard or understood. That can instantly trigger some sort of anger or frustration, and it can also cause insecurity in the person. I mean, when I talk about communication, communication as a skill, it requires a certain level of confidence, a fundamental level of confidence that you that you're comfortable saying what you're saying, that you believe that what you're saying is true. So, you have to learn to develop some level of confidence before you can do that, and that comes from feedback. So, practice makes perfect. Essentially,
Yeah.
consistent feedback from other people that whatever it is you're trying to do is working, at least to some degree. So it starts with practice. They say if you're not willing to be a fool in some area, you'll never be successful in it. You have to be willing to fail, even if it's learning to speak better. And we've all been speaking forever, and some people still,
Yeah.
aren't good at it. So I think it's actually a really important skill, especially on the topic of anger. It's something that I've went in on and cultivate for like the past few years because I've realized in my family that a lot of the problems, a lot of the fights, a lot of the arguments, I watched it in real time because two people just simply weren't able to express themselves. I mean, I've even been a part of some of these fights just because, especially when I was younger, and I look back like, wow, that's what it looks like. It was pure emotion coming out, don't know how to communicate. And I've watched as I've grown and I go back and talk to my family, the feedback is there. I can see the way that they look at me and the way that I look at them. It's like, oh, this is what everyone's missing. Nobody knows how to talk. I mean, it's it's kind of mind blowing in my opinion, but it's like one of the most powerful human tools that we have, especially from a very perspective. But I won't get into all of that stuff. I'm also a
The
science.
term Dorian uses often is you're at the grown folks table now.
Yeah,
Not the kid table anymore.
that much.
Well,
Yeah.
I have a question for everybody here because I'm curious to see what everybody's thought is on it. What do you each feel is the opposite of anger for you?
Compassion.
Not what it is, just you. So you got compassion, Josh.
Compassion. If you approach every situation with compassion, I mean, you can't be angry, right? And then,
okay.
Let me digress a little bit because I didn't really say anything to
No, go for it.
Tasha. And then we'll go back in. So sorry, but I was having a thought. So I've managed a ton of people, ran businesses. So again, this is all kind of new self-help kind of growth time is new to me. So I don't know if your co-worker, if you can, is she even approachable or he? I don't know. So a lot of times, if you, again, you try to put yourself in their shoes. So you were talking about calling an employee out on the spot, right? Most likely, that's all she knows because that's how she learned to be a manager, right? Right or wrong. So, I've had to kind of teach managers, and the way I was to get through to them was role play. I don't know if she'll do that, but if you bring up a situation
Yeah,
and
explain.
have a role play, right? And say, okay, and you're gonna have to design this. This is kind of broad, but um make up a situation if you're approaching a worker and gonna throw that worker under the bus in a group or pull them aside and talk to them, and then maybe ask her, how would you like to be approached? Would it feel good to get thrown under the bus in front of everybody? Or would you like to be pulled aside and let's talk about it, right? And so by doing that, maybe that might shed some light and open her eyes a little bit.
Yeah, no, I
Maybe,
appreciate that feedback. I
maybe
mean,
tough,
that takes me back to when
super
I
tough.
was teaching too, because when you're in a class setting talking to kids, you can't put them on the spot like that either. You got to talk to them one on one. And that's the
Correct.
same thing being a manager with, these teenagers, whoever. You got to pull them aside and talk to them. Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough.
But
I'm a firm believer though. Everything happens for a reason. So you're going through this to learn something, right?
Yeah, for
no fact.
sure.
But you look,
So
you
you
know
got to
what's
ask
funny?
yourself, what is it you have to learn to get through this, good, bad, or
Yeah.
otherwise, right?
Hey,
Make you a
can y'all hear
stronger
me?
person.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. And I was gonna say what's funny about that is it was mentioned about how somebody has been taught or learned how to move their whole life. You know what I mean? And now what they're doing or how they're carrying themselves is being perceived as off to other people or wrong or weird or whatever you call it. And you the one that notices it. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I guess to say, like, when we talk about like the family setting or whatever it is, I've spent years in my family all my life. And then at some point I realized who I was actually dealing with.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so I was able to now move around my family and deal with them as people. Just like if I was looking at somebody down the street or I was standing in somebody else's house, I would look at the situation for what it was worth, right? And so my communication basically changed. That's all I'm saying. My communication changed from just like accepting whatever and everything is just, you know, uh, perfectly fine to actually being real with what I was saying and how I was assessing the situation and communicating effectively as well because I knew who I was talking to, right? And so I think that's a big part of everything too, though, is being honest or at least moving in that with that energy, right? Because it's like your kid asks you a question about something and you don't want to give them the right answer or don't want to give them the true answer. Or, yeah, Santa Claus is real, like you know what I mean, stuff like that. And you know what your energy is. I'm avoiding the answer, right? Or I'm gonna find a way to give you the right answer, right? On one hand, I'm giving you whatever and just placating you and having you get out of my face. But on the other hand, I'm saying, you know, I'm gonna feed you the best information I can, possibly based on who you are.
Very good. I think as humans, we're quick to get angry first because it's the easiest exit instead of having that, like Dorian, like
Yeah,
you were saying, is that, you know,
yeah. We
you don't
see
know
it. We
that
see it.
person.
We
They have
see
a
it
different life. They
happen.
were raised like you. They didn't go through
Right.
your shit. You
But we
don't know
see it
them.
happen, and it looks like it works. Right? It looks like it worked for that person. You like, let me go and give me some of that.
Yeah, I want some of that, but it ain't
You
for you.
know? Right, right. Yeah, yeah. You gotta put your big boy and big girl pants on. You know.
That's it.
So yeah, think we about out of time, guys. I want to go ahead and throw alley oop to John and just have you just give us your closing thoughts, man.
Well, it's my pleasure.
There he
Here we
is.
go.
Come on, boy.
Let's go.
I would say that if there are any key takeaways from this brief conversation we've had, is that I try and take something from everybody. So you, Josh, you said you never know what people are going through, and that you should take that into consideration when you're dealing with people. I think that's very important because oftentimes we project on people based on feeling at the time. For frustrated, I'll see frustration in your eyes, even if it doesn't exist. If I'm sad, I'm going to look around and go, "Yeah, the world's a sad place. Look at this guy." I think it's important that we look at people and try and take in reality for what it is, and to you know, let compassion guide us. Let compassion guide us to a certain extent, without that being too. I would also say that it's important that we don't let our emotions control us, especially when they're the highest. I think it's more okay that emotions guide us when they're low, but when things get intense, whether it be sadness, anger, frustration, or like I said, even happiness, when it gets too high, it's important that we become aware of what we're doing, because that's when we make decisions that we regret the most. So those are 2 points that lead to the one point of be a bit more aware. And the third one I would say is how do I put this? Emotions are temporary, they're fleeting. They're here one moment and they're going in the next. But the people in our lives and the fact that we exist here isn't. It's still going to be here after the situation's said and done. And what I hear most of the time is that we don't really regret so often the things that we did. It's the things that we didn't do.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure we're missing out on anything because we can't control ourselves. So just be a little more self-aware and try and be a little more understanding. And I think we'll see that people are a lot more likable than we think.
People are good, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Another
All
thing,
right, man.
real
All
quick.
right, bro. It's always good hearing you speak, man. You got some birds on you every time.
I was talking to a friend of
Good,
mine,
guys.
and they said when you do get mad, smile. It's hard to be pissed off when you're smiling.
Show them the kindness.
All right, battery's
Yeah.
dying. Girls calling.
All right.
Hey,
I'll catch
all
y'all
right,
later.
so it's a wrap. We're gonna call it a day on this one. Go ahead, chime out, Zach. Yeah, so we're calling it a day. Good call, good call. Definitely some good points of interest expressed from everybody. I did want to speak back to Zach's question, but because my answer was love. How do you counter that? The opposite of anger. All around 100% for me is love. If I'm able to exude some type of or express some type of grace, right? Because I know where I'm gonna get grace from. I know I can handle the situation 100% once I put that in the equation. But yeah, no, good call. We ain't gonna milk it. Man, I'm full. Thanks to John, thanks Josh, thanks Tasha. And we'll catch up on the next one. Just want to thank the Father, the Creator, however you express Him, Allah, whatever you call the Creator. I want to thank that Creator, that entity, for allowing this conversation to take place, because I know it wasn't available or doable without His say so. And I guarantee you, I got a lot out of this. So if you guys did too, what I mean, you guys can throw your shout up, your prayer up, or your whatever, you're on your own. But that's how I feel. Let's go and wrap it. We'll have some more heated topics getting served up in the near future. Like I said, we're gonna rock with faith, family, finance, friends, and fitness, and a lot of things in between. So hope you got some out of this. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Alrighty.